Life is unpredictable, as Tatsugiko learns firsthand when he eats a mochi despite a girl warning him not to, and somehow ends up marrying her. The night before the incident, he walks alone and notices a wooden sign near a gate bearing the name Michihisa Kamiki. He barely glances at it before moving on. The neighborhood is silent, windows shut, lights off. He reaches an old house, steps through the gate, and the floor creaks underfoot. Inside, it's pitch black. Switching on his phone's flashlight, he moves cautiously, wishing he had arrived earlier. He searches for the switchboard without success, opens a door, passes through toward the veranda, then returns inside and finds the breaker. The power flicks on. He stops in front of a photo and joins his hands in respect. The image shows his grandfather on his mother's side, who passed away 3 years ago. He remembers the will left in the attic, naming him Tatsuhiko Shimazaki as the heir. He walks through the house, noting how little has changed. A paper lantern still hangs in place. He recalls how his aunt once encouraged him to visit, even suggesting it might suit him during summer. The house is quiet, 3 stations from his apartment, clean and undisturbed, but he still can't decide. He reminds himself he has no real reason to leave where he currently lives. A sudden sound breaks his focus. He turns and sees something fallen near the table. He places his bag on a chair and decides to shower before bed. As he walks down the hall, he brushes it off as wind. He bumps into an old wooden chair, breaking a piece off. He picks it up and wonders if it can be repaired. The ceiling light begins to flicker. He glances up. The flickering intensifies until the room goes completely dark. A whisper brushes past, followed by cold air. Strange sounds rise. The floor creaks first, and then the walls begin to crack. As the strange noise grows louder, the ceiling light sways and his steps become unsteady. Fear grips him, and without thinking, he runs to the veranda. He stops there, gasping for breath. He looks back, suspecting something strange. A sound draws him toward the hallway again. He grips a broom and walks with caution, convinced someone is inside the storage room. A presence doubts he'll last the night. Another reflects that even if he is Michihisa's grandson, he looks unprepared. Tatsugiko hears these thoughts and bursts forward. He throws open the door and swings the broom. A small creature appears, just as startled. He locks eyes with a tanuki wearing a cloak. He steps closer, noting that the room is decorated with balloons, hearts, and a large photo of his grandpa. A plaque beneath it hints at admiration. Suddenly, both he and the creature scream. He falls back, then grabs its cloak as it tries to flee. Holding tight, he lifts it, and the creature begins to speak. He wonders if it's some trick or a trained animal, but the tanuki transforms into a girl who floats above the floor, dressed in shrine robes. She introduces herself as the guardian of the house. Accidentally, the deity falls onto our lad, crushing him under her weight. Still catching his breath, he asks how a tanuki could turn into a human, suspecting some kind of trick. The girl calmly denies it, admitting she's inexperienced but insisting she really is a goddess. As he watches her, doubt begins to fade. Floating in the air, she wonders aloud why he can see her. She's surprised he found her hidden room. He recalls opening it, only to find a regular storage space later. She explains she concealed it with divine power. Though unsure, he begins to believe she might be telling the truth. He asks why she's in the house, and what that room really was. She tells him the room is called the Idol Shrine. Curious, he asks what it means. She explains her past. Michihisa, his grandfather, once cared for her when she was a tanuki, not as a pet, but as a companion. After his death, she became the guardian deity of the house. Now facing Tatsugiko, she's clear, despite being Michihisa's grandson, he has no real bond with the home. He never visited, never cared for it. To her, he's a stranger, and because of that, she won't let him stay. Tatsuhiko is confused. How can she act like she owns the house? Then it clicks. The missing will was hidden on purpose. She admits it. She didn't want anyone new here, especially someone who doesn't seem serious about staying. Calmly, she tells him to leave. He stays silent, torn. The house was left to him for a reason. Can she really ignore his grandfather's final wishes? The will never mentioned her, not the tanuki, not a guardian. Maybe in the end, Michihisa cared more about Tatsuhiko than the creature he left behind. She lowers her head, sadness flickering across her face, but stays firm. She still won't accept him. Then she jumps, in midair, shifts back into her tanuki form. Her voice continues. This house means everything to her. It holds her dearest memories. She doesn't want someone careless living in it. Still, she notices night has fallen and begrudgingly allows him to stay. just for tonight. Tatsugiko lies awake, mind racing. Everything feels surreal, and when he remembers her calling him a stranger, it stings, because it's true. He never came here before. By morning, she's still in tanuki form, quietly watching. When she greets him, her words are polite but firm. It's time to leave. He responds with sarcasm, asking if he can at least have breakfast first. She agrees. She made food for gods, after all. She doesn't need to eat, but she joins him anyway. As they eat, she thanks him softly. An egg nearly slips from her chopsticks, but she catches it just in time. He eats slowly beside her, the smell of toast filling the room. She takes a bite. Surprise. It's good, really good. Then something clicks. She looks at him curiously and asks, "Did Michihisa teach him how to make this?" Tatsugiko pauses, thinking. Saneka explains that Michihisa used to make toast with various toppings, filling the house with the smell. This one tastes just like his. It brings back memories. Tatsugiko recalls his mother making toast the same way. Maybe she learned it from Michihisa. He then quietly apologizes for what happened the day before. Saneka smiles gently, saying hiding the will was childish. It wasn't worth making a fuss over. Curious, Tatsugiko asks her name. She hesitates, then says it's Saneka, named after the Sanekazura vines blooming when she first met Michihisa. He softly repeats the name, sensing it came from his grandfather. She nods. A quiet moment passes. He comments that Michihisa must have been kind. Saneka looks puzzled. Tatsuhiko explains his only memory of this house is from the year his mother died. He came alone, once. After that, no calls, no letters. It felt like Michihisa didn't care. So why leave him the house now? It feels like an attempt to patch things up with property, which doesn't sit right. Saneka insists Michihisa wasn't like that. But Tatsuhiko, still conflicted, wonders aloud if his grandfather only pretended to care. Before she can respond, a creaking noise interrupts them. Saneka remembers the back door was damaged in the last typhoon. Tatsugiko checks it and decides it's best to nail it shut. He asks for tools. She leads him to the storage room, neatly arranged with saws, drills, and grinders. Tatsuhiko is impressed. It looks just like his own workshop. Fixing things is his hobby, and this setup feels oddly familiar. They begin repairing the door. He holds one side and asks her to press the other. He wonders why a guardian can't fix things herself. Saneka says her role is to protect the house from harm, not handle repairs. Gods like her can't do everything alone. Once, many gods lived here, but after Michihisa died, they left. Only she remains. Gods need homes, or they fade away. As he drills, Tatsugiko offers her the tool. She hesitates, but he encourages her. She tries and yelps at the sudden noise, startled. They freeze, unsure whether to laugh. He gently pushes her to try again. This time she pushes too hard. He watches, amused, teasing her for being clumsy. Once the door is fixed, he steps back, satisfied. Saneka thanks him. He asks if there's anything else unsafe. She shakes her head. Everything seems fine now. But his eyes land on a broken chair. Without a second thought, he says they should fix that too. Saneka laughs, thinking he's going overboard. But he doesn't mind. It relaxes him. As he works, Saneka, still in tanuki form, sits beside him, watching a little too closely. To break the silence, Tatsuhiko jokes, giving her a playful nickname based on her drill mishap. She responds, then shifts back to human form with a sigh. Till smiling, Tatsuhiko teases Saneka again, saying that even if she's clumsy, she should at least be able to handle painting. He hands her a brush. Annoyed by the nickname, she tells him to quit it, but takes the brush anyway, determined. As she paints, Tatsugiko watches her carefully, impressed by her focus. He quietly admits she's pretty good at it. Saneka pauses to apologize for hesitating earlier, but he brushes it off. They continue, passing tools and working side by side until the chair is nearly done. Tatsugiko glances up at the wooden beams, soft light spilling through, shadows stretching. The house feels warm, peaceful. Saneka checks the time. It's already night. Tatsuhiko realizes how easily time slipped away. He remembers how his parents were never handy, and now wonders if his skills came from Michihisa. He wishes he had known his grandfather better. As he packs up, a photo on a shelf catches his eye, him as a child, grinning in a tub with a water gun. He barely remembers it. Saneka looks too, saying Michihisa used to stare at that photo often. She's sure he cared, even if he never reached out. That photo meant something. But Tatsuhiko struggles to believe it. If Michihisa really cared, Why stay silent all those years? Still, looking at the tools and the care in every detail, he starts to think. Maybe he could come back now and then, not to live here, but to help maintain the place. It's not easy to sell anyway, and if it means something to Saneka, maybe it's worth preserving. Saneka is surprised. She smiles softly, admitting she had a good time today, and it's been a long time since she felt that way. But her mood shifts. She turns away, saying she didn't become a goddess to be remembered. Her purpose is to protect the house until it fades. Then she'll fade with it. She asks him not to fix anything, not to come back. Tatsuhiko is stunned. If gods need homes to exist, then letting the house fall apart means she's choosing to disappear. Saneka nods. She wants to go with her memories of Michihisa. He doesn't understand. Why give up? Why stay alone? She rests her hand gently on the wall, and a small creak echoes. He wonders, was he the only one who thought today meant something? Before he can speak, Saneka turns back. Her voice is soft but heavy. For her, this day wasn't just fun, it was everything. Gods outlive humans, and she's scared of being left behind again. That kind of loss, that sudden emptiness, is something she can't bear to feel again. She tells him he can take any tools he wants. Her voice is quiet. Tatsuhiko raises his hand, trying to reach her, but Saneka turns back suddenly. She grabs his hands. They're trembling. Tears fill her eyes as she cups his face and steps close. Emotion rises between them. Then, crash. Something clatters in the distance. Tatsuhiko half laughs. The door they just fixed sounds like it broke again. He admits she didn't think much about Michihisa when he was alive, but learning he died alone left him with guilt. Knowing Saneka stayed by his side brought some relief, though he feels selfish for that. He adds that he doesn't want her to end up alone either. He asks if she regrets spending time with Michihisa, knowing the answer. Even gods don't have forever. Time runs out for everyone. So he suggests they enjoy the time they do have, fully, without regrets. Saneka's eyes soften. A memory returns. Michihisa gently petting her in her tanuki form, sitting on the porch in peaceful silence. She steps closer to Tatsuhiko and lowers her head. He smiles and jokes softly, then says he should head home after fixing the back door latch. As he turns to leave, Saneka stops him, grabbing his shoulder. Her voice is breathless and stubborn. This is why she warned him not to get involved, but her tone softens. She asks him to teach her how to use the tools. Before he can answer, her stomach growls loudly. She freezes, annoyed. Tatsuhiko gives her a teasing look, telling her to quiet down, only half serious. Later in the kitchen, he looks for bread, but instead finds a soft, round mochi on a plate. Curious, he takes a bite. Saneka notices too late and shouts his name, trying to stop him, but he's already eaten it. Suddenly, the room changes. Balloons float up. Music plays. Notes drift down with cheerful messages. Local gods and spirits appear, cheering and laughing. They call him the husband, recognizing him as Michihisa's grandson. It's chaos, joyful, overwhelming. The gods celebrate what they see as a sacred union, then fade away, leaving the two alone. Tatsuhiko sits on the floor, stunned. He asks what just happened. Saneka explains. The mochi he ate was third night mochi, a traditional offering. In ancient custom, if a man ate it while visiting a woman's home on the third night, it meant they were married in the eyes of the gods. Tatsuhiko protests. It's only his second night. Saneka blinks, realizing he's right. She hadn't considered that. Something's off, but it doesn't matter now. The gods saw it. The bond is sealed. Whether they meant to or not, by ancient custom, they're now husband and wife. After everything, Tatsuhiko makes up his mind. The house his grandfather left now holds a strange but warm presence, and the one living there, Saneka, has gone from being a tanuki to a guardian goddess. Her past form is gone, yet her new presence feels natural to him. He looks at her quietly, and a small smile appears. Even though none of it feels normal, something about it seems right. He decided to stay and protect the house, this time with Saneka by his side. Later he sits across from her, clearly agitated. He protests the whole idea of marriage, his voice rising as he thumps the table. The old mochi custom makes no sense to him. It's not ancient times, and it hasn't even been 3 full days. Saneka remains calm and reminds him that, according to tradition, if a man visits a woman's house and eats mochi on the third night, it means they're married. She softly adds that maybe things are different when gods are involved. He rubs his stomach, hungry again, and casually mentions he's starving. She doesn't respond, only watches him. He mutters that he wishes he had known about the mochi rule, and she reminds him she kept telling him to go home. He slumps over the table, annoyed, but shrugs it off, thinking there's no legal trouble between a goddess and a human. She nods. He gets up and walks toward the door, deciding to call it a night. As he walks into the quiet evening, he keeps wondering how it all ended up like this. Riding down the dark street, he tries to brush off the weirdness of it all. Things were strange, sure, but he tells himself his life won't be affected. Just as he breathes out and starts to relax, the bicycle lifts off the ground. Everything spirals fast as he floats into the air and crashes back down right in front of his grandfather's house. He blinks at the familiar place, confused. He had just left, so how did he return? Saneka steps out and states plainly that when a human marries a god, they can't go far. Some force will pull them back like gravity. Still shaken, he asks why no one told him. That crash could have hurt. She tells him it's simply how it is. Once the bond is formed, they can't be separated. He stares at her, unable to process it, and asks again. She says once someone sees it for themselves, they understand. That's why she let him experience it. He panics, realizing he's now stuck in that house. Saneka calmly confirms it. It's not her doing, it's just the rule. He complains loudly that he never signed up for this. She coolly reminds him she is a goddess and deserves some respect. He's the one being flung around. She, on the other hand, stands like she belongs there. That night, Tatsuhiko lies on a futon beside a rattling fan. Staring up at the ceiling, he still can't believe this is his reality. Living here feels unreal, but he starts to realize that Saneka has been here alone for 3 years. That thought lingers. Later that night, strange rustling outside wakes him. He hears a clatter and gets up to check. When he walks into the kitchen, he finds a little girl surrounded by wrappers, snacking without a care. She spots him and leaps up, shocked to see a human. She jumps onto him, shouting in surprise, asking how he can see her. He asks if she's a goddess, but quickly shifts to what really matters. His food stash is gone. More upset about that than her sudden appearance, he looks at the mess around her and starts to panic. Saneka rushes in, concerned. She sees the little girl and suspiciously questions her. Tatsuhiko shakes his head, still in shock. The girl sits on a cushion, cheeks puffed in protest, surrounded by snack wrappers. She proudly announces herself as a noble oak tree leaf guardian. Tatsuhiko sits nearby, cross-legged, still trying to make sense of the situation. He hears more noises and walks back to the kitchen. The girl keeps eating from the fridge. Saneka asks who she is. Tatsuhiko, still baffled, asks the same. The girl firmly repeats she isn't a thief. She's Nara, a guardian of oak trees. She's offended they'd think otherwise. Tatsuhiko wonders why a tree guardian needs to eat and thought gods didn't need food. Nara explains that she protects trees, especially acorn trees, and loves human food. Tatsuhiko repeats her words in disbelief. Nara continues cheerfully, saying she prefers sneaking food near humans instead of living in the mountains like other guardians. Her old house was damaged, and she'd been wandering for too long, too hungry to wait. Tatsuhiko snaps that she could have eaten somewhere else. Nara excitedly explains she can only enter houses with an opening, with oak trees nearby, and if those trees are well cared for. Tatsuhiko notices a hole in the shelf and wonders when it got there. Nara suddenly senses something and points to a wooden chair. She explains that even furniture made of oak can attract her. Tatsuhiko connects the dots. It's the same chair he repaired. Saneka confirms it. Nara smiles and states that the chair still holds strong energy when it's cared for. She thanks them both for fixing it. She then asks for 3 meals a day. Tatsuhiko is shocked and wonders if she plans to stay. Nara lies down with a big smile, saying she's lucky to have found this house where humans can see gods. She loves being able to ask for food anytime. Tatsuhiko walks in again and finds Nara sleeping on his futon. He wonders how she eats everything and sleeps like it's normal. Saneka gently covers Nara and says she must be tired from searching for a home. Saneka explains that gods need a place to belong. Without it, they can't exist. Tatsuhiko thinks quietly to himself that they should prepare her a proper meal tomorrow. The next morning, Nara jumps on him, full of energy, yelling for him to wake up. He groans and calls her a brat. She insists she's 50 years old and demands to be called Big Sister Nara. Saneka warns her that jumping like that is dangerous. Tatsuhiko is annoyed it's only 6 a.m. Nara chants excitedly about breakfast, eager to eat. Saneka mentions they'll need more ingredients soon. Later, when the meal is served, Nara calls it a feast and proudly names her dish pizza toast. Tatsuhiko tells her to stop bouncing on the table, though he admits the food looks delicious. Saneka comments that cooking for 3 isn't much different from cooking for 2. He thanks her, and she adds that she picked up the vegetables from a roadside stand. Nara immediately complains about the green peppers. Tatsuhiko reminds her that she's 50 and should be able to eat them. She sulks, still refusing. Saneka gently tells her that if she doesn't want to be treated like a child, she should eat her vegetables. Everyone has foods they dislike, even adults. When asked if there's anything she dislikes, she replies softly that there isn't. Tatsuhiko notices she hasn't touched her food and asks why. She smiles and says she's hungry. But more than that, she's just happy the house feels lively again. Saneka watches the cheerful scene and thinks back to the past. Tatsuhiko also reflects on how everything changed after Mikisa passed. He remembers his family, the voices, breakfast, his father leaving for work. Those memories now feel distant. Nara suddenly brings up marriage, pointing out that since he lives here, it's basically the same. The comment catches Saneka off guard. Nara admits she doesn't really understand God-human marriages. They're rare after all. He ignores her, watching as she stuffs her face with mochi. She shrugs it off, saying it's not a big deal. Saneka thinks her attitude is far too relaxed. Switching gears, Nara starts talking about fate, how every meeting matters and even small moments could be tied to past lives. He listens quietly and agrees, though marriage still feels like too heavy a topic. She then asks if sharing meals isn't enjoyable. Saneka smiles softly and nods. He agrees too, though a bit awkwardly. Without warning, Nara asks if he thinks Saneka is cute, adding that he should consider himself lucky. He's thrown by the sudden shift, but she presses him. Saneka stays quiet while Nara teases that maybe he just doesn't know what he wants. Flustered, he slams the table and blurts out that yes, she is cute. But that's not the point. Nara looks pleased. Saneka, confused, wonders where this is all going. Nara leans in, teasing him about liking bigger women. He panics. Saneka quietly says she may not be attractive, which makes Nara gasp and agree without thinking. She insists she's just average. He frantically tells her not to take it so literally. Nara points out that people get married without fully knowing each other. He responds that love should come first, and marrying a goddess feels like too much pressure. Softly, he adds that those days are already behind him. Suddenly, Nara grabs them both and pulls them toward a wall. She points at a spot. She asks if they worked on it together. He confirms they did. Nara says she tried to chew through it but couldn't break the barrier. He scolds her. She grins, saying bonds hold power, and that marriage might just be fate, especially between a god and a human. The spiritual bond is even stronger. She tries to prove her own value, but he refuses. She insists, pointing at a chair and claiming it holds power because of their bond. Then she declares them a perfect match and hugs them both. Then Nara suddenly says she's hungry again. He points out she just ate, but she cheerfully insists she eats whenever she wants. Saneka notes that it doesn't really count as 3 proper meals. Still, Nara happily digs into a beef bowl and even offers bites to the others. They watch her in surprise but end up joining in. She used to eat alone, always wishing she could share a meal. At one point, she even saved a dish for someone special. Now surrounded by company, she finally feels content. Smiling warmly, she says she's glad to have met them. Saneka looks at her with quiet affection, and he softly thanks her. Eventually, she falls asleep at the table. He watches her, thinking how her whole routine seems to revolve around eating and sleeping. As he lifts her up, he notices the peaceful expression on her face. It amazes him that someone claiming to be 50 can still look so small. That leads him to wonder about godly lifespans. Saneka answers quietly, it varies, some gods live decades, others centuries or longer. His thoughts drift to how something as simple as fixing a chair brought real joy. He breaks the silence by asking if his grandfather could see gods. She shakes her head, then asks why. He admits he wondered if all this had been planned somehow, though he doubts it. Still, he assures her he doesn't dislike her. Far from it. Remembering his earlier promise, he reaffirms it, he won't leave her alone. She says nothing, but her silence carries weight. He thinks maybe together they can restore the house, maybe even attract more gods. What matters most is making sure she's never left behind again. Even if it takes centuries, he wants her to always feel connected. Her eyes widen. Under a blanket, Nara peeks out with a mischievous grin, teasing them and suggesting they hug. Both immediately refuse, flustered, denying there's anything going on. In the house left behind by his grandfather, a new goddess appears, a gluttonous oak tree spirit named Nara. Without hesitation, she declares she's heading out to greet the surrounding gods. He watches, admitting it's surprisingly proper of her. She proudly claims to value etiquette, but he quickly reminds her she once broke in and stole food. The other guardian, Saneka, casually mentions that Nara plans to use the snacks she just bought as gifts, snacks he had just purchased himself. He starts thinking more seriously about returning to his house. There's a new yukata waiting, but no other spare clothes. Saneka, deeply attached to Gramps from having lived with him in her tanuki form, is busy smelling his clothes. She's startled, thinking Setsugiko will ask for them, but he isn't interested. Still, he wonders if he can even return to his old place. Because of a strange misunderstanding, specifically the third night Mochi ritual, he's now married to Saneka, spiritually bound to the house. He wonders if she's also tied here. She calmly assures him she can leave any time, which brings a bit of relief. What really worries him, though, is how to explain everything to his father. Just thinking about it makes him panic. Saneka reminds him that ordinary people can't see gods, so there's no need to explain anything. That helps. And then it hits him. He can see her. Clearly. Not everyone can. Curious, she wonders how someone like him is even able to see her or Nara. Later, while he's pedaling his bike with Saneka riding in the front basket, he brings up the topic of motion sickness. She calmly assures him she's fine. As they near Kitahama Station, he complains about the distance and regrets not getting a moped license. With the heat getting to him, he decides to stop for a drink. She gives a small nod, and they head into a supermarket. Inside, an old man asks if there's a festival happening. It all seems so festive. Glancing around, he notices they make quite the odd pair. Saneka just replies she has no idea what's going on. While they talk, he adjusts his clothes gently. Suddenly, a little girl grabs Saneka's skirt, exclaiming how much she loves it. Her mother apologizes, pulling the child back. A nearby couple wonders if she's dressed as a shrine maiden. Another passerby asks if there's an event. Embarrassed, both of them bow and try to hurry along. Then it hits him. Everyone can see her. Panicked, he asks how this is possible. She's just as confused. He checks to see if anyone had seen her in her tanuki form earlier, but she says no. Later, when he places her on his shoulder, kids mistake her for a puppy. One child even cries for her. A nearby mother scolds her baby while Saneka insists she's not a dog, she's a tanuki. As they head back, it becomes clear. People are seeing her now, not just him, and she doesn't understand why. He tries to cover for it, joking they should just pretend she's a cosplayer. Worried, she hopes no one calls animal control. As they walk upstairs, he sighs, dreading the talk with his father. At home, his dad greets them cheerfully. The moment he sees her, he assumes she's his son's girlfriend and excitedly welcomes her in, chatting about their matching outfits and even preparing dinner. Tatsu tries to explain, but the assumptions keep coming. Frustrated, he climbs on the table and declares that she's not his girlfriend. She's his wife and a goddess. His father stares in shock, then demands an explanation. Saneka offers to clarify. Shifting into her puppy form, she wins him over almost instantly. He laughs, asks to pet her, and quickly accepts the strange truth. He even invites her to stay the night and offers his son's room. Later, she lies down and reflects on the familiar scent, the house filled with memories of Michihisa. In a flashback, he gently takes care of her, promising to fix things. Back in the present, Tatsu returns with a plate of tuna and corn. When they arrive back at the old house, Nara is already there, lying on the floor with an empty sake bottle. She'd drunk the sacred sake as a housewarming gift. Wailing dramatically, she claims there's nothing left for her to do, then promptly falls asleep. Unbothered, he suggests they inspect the house. With Saneka perched on his shoulder, they move through creaky floors and broken gutters. In the cold bathroom, he wonders aloud how his grandfather lived like this. They check the attic, where he finds some half-finished wooden carvings, perhaps ones his grandfather had been working on. She picks up one piece and realizes it doesn't resemble a tanuki at all. It hits her. His grandfather had never carved another tanuki. Tatsu mentions that maybe he never needed to. Maybe she was the only one who mattered. He notes that people tend to carve the animals they love. Maybe this was his way of saying she belonged. She grips the carving a little tighter and softly says thank you. As she walks away, he gently stops her, warning about the weak floorboards ahead. His tone is light, even joking. She pauses, then suddenly hugs him from behind. He stumbles, and they fall together. She buries her face in his chest, tears flowing. She remembers Michihisa's promise to fix the floor, remembers how he never came back. She clings to that moment, unable to hold back anymore. He stays still, placing a gentle hand on her back. Maybe Mikasa passed suddenly. Maybe he chose to stay near the house he loved, knowing his time was short. No one will ever know for sure, but maybe he left things as they were for a reason. Later, Nara wakes up, groggy and hungry. The others don't offer much explanation. As the morning light fills the room, Saneka sits quietly, staring at the wooden carving. Memories continue to surface. On the futon nearby, Tatsu pretends to sleep, but peeks at her from one eye. When he finally turns over, he notices she's curled up beside him in her tanuki form. Without saying a word, he gently pats her back, choosing, for now, to stay present in the warmth of the moment. Nara wonders what breakfast might be today and heads out for a walk. While climbing up for a better view, an old woman nearby warns her it's dangerous. Back home, Tatsu and Saneka sit quietly on the porch. From the terrace above, Nara looks down at them, and the morning passes in quiet, shared peace. By a strange twist of fate, Tatsuhiko ends up married to Saneka, a guardian deity, and moves into their late grandfather's house. One morning, his father arrives unannounced with rice balls for breakfast. Inside, Tatsuhiko and Saneka are still asleep, sharing a bed in a quiet, sloth-like sprawl. The unexpected sight catches the father's attention, but he remains calm, placing a hand on his own head with a smile. Tatsuhiko stirs, confused by the noise, and quickly realizes the situation. In a rush to fix the misunderstanding, he pulls at his father's collar, trying to stop him from jumping to conclusions. The father, however, takes it lightly, choosing to accept the scene without fuss, fully acknowledging their marriage. Saneka, still half asleep, lifts her head and wonders aloud about the commotion so early in the day. Tatsuhiko, overwhelmed, shifts focus to her sudden appearance, puzzled by how she's now in human form despite being in her tanuki form the previous night. As Saneka wakes up, she believes that it's all just a dream. But something huge appears, smacking Tatsu out of the room, while his father silently observes the bizarre scene, still processing it. Saneka apologizes, admitting she couldn't help it. Tatsuhiko then notices something strange, a clay tanuki statue beside her. Saneka introduces it as Goshin, her protective servant. Though meant to be strong and helpful, its small build suggests otherwise. Saneka lowers her head again and admits she was thinking about Michihiza. Her tone softens as she confesses that she got lonely and had hoped to sneak out before anyone noticed. Tatsuhiko already senses what Saneka had planned. She hoped to slip away unnoticed before anyone woke up. But before he can say more, Nara jumps in and latches onto him, panicked. A human has seen her. She flails, demanding he let go, while chaos unfolds around them. Tatsuhiko's father watches curiously, and guesses this must be the squirrel deity he heard about. Saneka calmly notes that now even big sister Nara is visible to humans. Nara pauses, thinking the issue lies with the house. She remembers being able to sneak around without trouble before coming here. Tatsuhiko reminds her not to brag about stealing food, especially from pedestrians too distracted to notice. Nara reflects that the marriage between Tatsuhiko and Saneka might have triggered something unusual. The father wonders aloud if marrying a deity can actually cause such effects. Nara isn't certain either. As they gather around the dining table, Saneka calmly concludes that there's only one thing left to do. Nara agrees, deciding to go along, at least until lunchtime. When Tatsuhiko sees the food, he curiously asks what it is. Nara replies it's ramen. Tatsu already knows that but seems confused. She shares that sneaking ramen was always difficult, and now she finally gets to enjoy it openly at a shop. Tatsu realizes how little she understands about the world and warns her not to splash soup on her clothes. Saneka, seated nearby, thanks him for lending her some clothes. Tatsu remarks that her usual outfit draws too much attention anyway. The scene opens at a small cafe where the workers struggle with the summer heat. One staff member walks in, fanning himself, and another greets him, commenting on how hot it is outside. Tatsuhiko eats ramen with Saneka and Nara, slurping a mouthful before admitting it's good, just too hot for summer. He eyes Saneka's usual outfit and wonders aloud if it's uncomfortable. She replies calmly, "Gods can adapt to any temperature." Tatsu sighs, wishing he could do the same. A waiter brings more miso, ramen, and fried rice. Tatsu watches in disbelief as Nara hungrily scans the table. He wonders if her appetite comes from being a goddess, but Saneka explains, it's just Nara. When Nara reaches for his bowl, her sleeve nearly dips into the soup. Tatsu places a hand on her head and pushes her back. Nara protests, bragging about her massive bites. Saneka, watching the chaos calmly. Later, in the warm breeze, the three enjoy ice cream. Nara beams, savoring every bite, declaring that finishing a whole bar is the best. Tatsu quietly agrees, it's refreshingly good. With a relaxed breath, he mutters that now, with everything that has happened, things feel different. Nara grins and promises to make him take her around to try food from every place, already buzzing with excitement. Without warning, she jumps into the water nearby, splashing cold drops around. He watches and notes how full of energy she is. Saneka, watching from the side, reflects on how difficult it is to be visible yet limited in how much she can engage. Still, thanks to Tatsuhiko, she's experiencing a world of firsts, and it makes her feel genuinely happy. Tatsu listens and quietly wonders if their marriage really is what triggered everything. If so, he admits, maybe it's not so bad. There are some benefits after all. Just then, Nara slips and ends up soaked in the water. She stumbles over to Tatsu, clinging to him while dripping wet. He protests, trying to pull away, not wanting to get drenched too. He teases her for being a goddess and yet so clumsy, reminding her not to forget her trash, and joking about her supposed 50 years of wisdom. Nara pouts, then with a mischievous wink, splashes him. He tumbles into the water, coughing in surprise, while she taunts him with a smirk, calling him an arrogant human who can't keep up with her. Tatsuhiko scoffs and remarks that Nara is in no position to talk, reminding her that the so-called arrogant human just treated her to lunch using Papa's money. As Nara snickers, Saneka gently asks them not to splash near her. But before the words can even settle, a splash follows a thud and a startled oops. Both Tatsu and Nara toss Saneka into the water. Now soaked and dripping, Saneka rises slowly, water streaming from her hair and sleeves. Her voice is calm but mischievous as she proposes making things more exciting if they really want to play. Tatsu and Nara freeze in surprise as Goshin joins in, now laughing and splashing like the rest. Later, after drying off and returning home, Tatsu offers Saneka some tea. Nora, relaxed and drying her hair, asks how the tea tastes. Not too strong, she hopes. As the peaceful mood settles, their father observes the group and mutters in disbelief about how quickly the household hierarchy has shifted in just one day. He sets down a bag and announces he brought some boxed lunches, still trying to catch up with the pace of their strange new normal. After a long day of cleaning and repairs, Tatsuhiko takes a break, exhausted. Nara gets drinks and casually praises his work. Tatsu reminds her she didn't help. She shrugs, admitting it. Saneka quietly thanks him as she looks out over the tidied garden. Tatsu explains that if it gets overgrown, it invites mosquitoes and makes the place look abandoned. Saneka recalls how kids once came here for dares, and Tatsu admits he'd be scared if someone showed up at night. She, in turn, shares her fear of intruders. Later that night, Tatsu sleeps until he feels a heavy presence. Saneka's guardian deity looms silently over him, eventually sitting on his head. Just as he thinks it can't get worse, a loud knock wakes him. Half asleep, he wonders if it was real or just a bug. He recalls returning from the store and panicking over the sound, worried someone might have seen them. Then, a creak. He calls out for Goshin, and looking out the window, he sees a massive shadowy figure. The stranger claims he was invited and questions Tatsu's presence. He thought the house was empty. The figure orders his followers to seize him. Frozen in fear, Tatsu yells for help. Saneka rushes in, explaining that Tatsu is Michihisa's grandson. The figure's demeanor changes instantly. He politely offers a gift and expresses hope of returning as a suitor, mentioning the third night Mochi ritual before vanishing. Shaken, Tatsu asks if that was really a good god. Saneka, just as stunned, admits she'd never met him before. The next morning, Tatsu reflects on the visit and the mention of marriage. He asks why Saneka didn't correct the misunderstanding. She says the god's presence overwhelmed her. A metallic clink breaks the quiet. Powerful gods, she says, are often drawn to this house. Another knock follows. Tatsu groans. Why do they keep showing up? Saneka explains dog gods are much stronger than Tanuki. The Tanuki guardian just listens in silence. Outside, green laundry flaps in the breeze. Nora, munching on snacks, remarks on how scary the dog god looked, which explains why Saneka was intimidated. Tatsu reminds her she missed the whole thing while sleeping. She yawns and says she'll be away for a while. Tatsu wonders aloud who started the rumor that Saneka ran off. He still doesn't get why the gods care so much about this house. Saneka explains, it's not just the building, but the land, spiritually rich, energizing, even healing like a natural hot spring. It blesses its guardian with strength, Even a low-ranked god like her gained power from protecting it. Tatsu asks if marrying her brings those blessings too. Saneka says yes, for a god. For a human, there's no benefit. She teases him for wasting the opportunity. Tatsu, annoyed, brushes it off. Still, Saneka notes that if word spreads they're married, it might keep other suitors away. Tatsu hopes so. As clouds gather, Tatsu suggests locking up early in case the dog god returns. Saneka glances at the veranda. It needs repainting. Tatsu agrees, mentioning it needs sanding first. When she asks what that is, he explains it's a tool for smoothing surfaces. As they work, Saneka recalls Mishihisa doing the same and confirms he built parts of the house himself. She once believed it would all fall apart, but now it feels like the place is waking up again. She apologizes for the third night Mochi confusion but says she's glad he came back. Tatsu quietly thanks her, sensing the honesty in her words. Just then, the dog god returns, saying he dropped by early. But he pauses, asking again, are the tanuki and the human really married? The atmosphere shifts as his imposing presence raises new uncertainty about what comes next. Tatsuhiko expected him to arrive in the middle of the night like before, but Saneka apologizes for making him come all this way. She bows and admits that, just as he said, the suitor beside her has recently become her husband. Looking at the dog deity's noble face, she says she cannot become his wife. The dog deity suddenly lets out a sharp curse with a cracking sound. Saneka lowers her head again, apologizing for wasting his time and politely asking him to leave. Tatsu steps in, clearly angry, demanding to know what the god thinks he's doing, no matter how powerful he is. The dog deity freezes, realizing his mistake. He apologizes, shocked, and admits he broke something badly. He wonders how he can make it right. He explains that he got too upset about arriving late and forgot to control his strength. Saneka stumbles, losing balance, while Tatsu stands motionless, unable to process what just happened. The dog deity bows deeply, begging for forgiveness. He offers his sincere apologies, then hesitates, trying to find the right words. Saneka watches and remarks that his behavior was far too reckless. Tatsu admits he's feeling a little faint. The dog deity lowers his tone, realizing his appearance might have frightened them. He explains that it's been a long time since he lost his home, and now he's too weak even to draw a sacred sword. Saneka listens, surprised to learn he no longer has a home. The dog deity shares that he came after hearing rumors about this land that blesses gods. But now, seeing that Saneka has a strong partner willing to put himself at risk for her, he realizes there's no place for him here. Tatsu reacts emotionally, finding it sad. He tries to make sense of it, murmuring in confusion. The dog deity reflects that being with a partner you truly desire makes all the difference. With a faint smile, he jokes about being a slum dog, then quickly apologizes, not wanting to cause further trouble. He believes he'll be fine if he can just find some shelter from the rain. Tatsu recalls that without a place to call home, a god cannot truly exist. Tatsu grabs his arm and stops him. Seeing how weak he is, Tatsu insists he stay with them and invites him inside. The dog deity, blinking in surprise, explains that his old shrine was in an abandoned village and finally collapsed a few months ago. Saneka offers her sympathy. The dog deity acknowledges that the rumors were true. The land does carry a good aura. He feels a little better already. Tatsu is relieved to hear that. The dog deity then asks about the presence of others, wondering if that's Tatsu's family. Tatsu replies that his father isn't coming today. Saneka notices faint voices and wonders if it's multiple people. Tatsu recalls what Saneka once said and guesses that they might be visitors testing their courage. With the storm shutters closed, the house likely looks abandoned. Tatsu decides to investigate, but Saneka quickly warns him that the visitors could be burglars, and possibly armed. Saneka prepares to check, but Tatsu stops her, fearing that if they can see her, she could be in danger. The dog deity considers the situation and thinks it may be best if he handles it. Outside, a group of boys wonder if the house is truly abandoned. The dog deity watches quietly and confirms they are likely just kids here for a test of courage. Tatsu realizes that regular people probably can't see gods, which makes it easier to scare them off. With a sudden motion, the dog deity charges forward with a frightening growl. The youngsters panic. One of them yells that it's a wild dog, and with loud shrieks, they all run away. The dog deity finishes the task and nods with satisfaction. Saneka bows slightly, offering quiet thanks. Tatsuhiko observes that the deity is fully visible, just like Saneka. She explains that gods of different ranks can manifest in different forms depending on circumstances. Tatsu slowly takes it in, eyes drifting upward as the clouds clear and the moon appears in the night sky. The dog deity gazes at the soft moonlight and reflects that his journey began with a simple wish for blessings. It was that very pursuit, he says, that ultimately led him to propose to a certain Madame Tanuki. Tatsuhiko glances up and asks if it's a tree. Saneka confirms, referring to the sacred tree. The dog deity nods and explains that there was once a magnificent holy tree at his shrine too. It symbolized protection, planted by the villagers with hope it would guard them. Though both the tree and shrine are now gone, he felt a connection to this sacred tree because of its resemblance. He notes there seems to be no direct link between that shrine and this house, but he's glad to witness such a beautiful tree and a lovely couple. As the rain clears, the dog deity prepares to leave, saying he'll return later to properly apologize before he fades away. Tatsuhiko, surprised, asks if he has nowhere else to go. The dog deity calmly replies that if he can't find a home, that's just fate, and he accepts it. Tatsuhiko offers for him to live with them. The dog deity is caught off guard. Saneka calls Tatsu's name in disbelief. Tatsu reassures her, saying the dog deity seems reliable, unlike the lazy ceramic dog they already have, and asks if he can still recover without marrying Saneka. Saneka replies that he won't receive the land's blessings like she does as a guardian deity. But that's not a concern. Tatsu smiles, saying then it's settled, and the house will be lively again. Saneka recalls Tatsu once said he'd make this place so warm that she'd never feel lonely, not in 100 or even 1,000 years. That memory fades, and she quietly agrees to the dog deity, saying that he's okay with it. The dog deity hesitates, worrying he might be in the way of a newly couple. Tatsu says he'll explain everything later, and adds there's already a cheeky dog deity here, so it's no problem. The dog deity sincerely thanks Saneka and apologizes for the trouble he caused earlier. Saneka replies that all things fade eventually, so one must gain new ones. She then welcomes him in and offers tea. He bumps his head on the doorframe and comments that human houses are too low. Tatsu laughs, saying newer ones are taller. The dog deity shifts into human form, saying he'll use this body if it's acceptable. Holding a sword, he introduces himself formally as Hiraji, another name for Holly, and promises to protect the two masters of the house as repayment. Tatsu calls it awesome. Saneka tells him not to be so formal and invites him to take a seat. In the house left behind by his grandfather, Tatsuhiko is now joined by the dependable dog deity Hiraji. As a high-ranking god, Hiraji is capable of changing into 3 different forms. When asked where he will sleep, Hiraji calmly requests a quiet place to rest and recover, asking not to be bothered. Tatsuhiko tells him to choose wherever he feels comfortable. Hiraji chooses modestly, remarking it's unlike a certain squirrel deity he knows. The scene shifts to the city. Today is a new challenge for Tatsuhiko and Saneka as a married couple, her first time accompanying him to his part-time job. Outside a tall building, Tatsu points to the restaurant where he works and reminds Saneka not to wander too far. Because of their divine bond, separating by more than a kilometer triggers a magical pull that yanks them back together. They agree to meet at 10 p.m. Before work, they shop for clothes. Saneka apologizes for being a burden and admits she's uneasy in crowded places. She's only seen them on Michihisa's TV. As the crowd thickens, she clings to Tatsu. To keep from getting separated, they hold hands, an awkward but comforting gesture. At the store, they buy essentials. Tatsu gets flustered when Saneka picks out undergarments and asks for help choosing a bag. Overwhelmed, he urges her to just choose one. She changes into her new outfit, and when she asks how she looks, he casually says she looks cute, prompting her to press for more. Embarrassed, he dodges the compliment and suggests storing their bags in a coin locker. At the restaurant, he shows her how to use his phone and a handheld game to pass the time. She agrees to stay nearby. As he leaves, Saneka smiles and wishes him luck. While waiting, Saneka reminisces about Tatsu making her pizza toast. She watches a family share a warm meal and quietly tears up. An hour remains, but the games no longer distract her. She decides to try being alone outside. After paying the bill, she wanders to a nearby bench, only to be approached by a pushy stranger. He makes small talk, then grabs her wrist when she tries to walk away. She considers using her powers but hesitates. Meanwhile, Tatsu finishes work. Coworkers tease him about having a girlfriend and demand a BBQ if it's true. When he returns to the restaurant and finds her missing, panic sets in. Realizing she's out of range, he breaks the distance limit and teleports, arriving with a dramatic kick that sends the stranger flying. Frustrated and exhausted, Tatsu scolds Saneka for leaving and says he ran until the magic kicked in. Saneka, still shaken, says she doesn't feel safe alone and asks to hold hands again. Tatsu agrees, but she immediately complains his hand is sweaty and pulls away, leaving him confused. Unseen, one of Tatsu's coworkers witnesses the scene and mutters with a smirk, "Guess I really do owe him that BB key."
Here I am,